correcting children's behaviour, or how to change behaviour. It's been a question that has come up a lot in Warrior Kids, and it's a question I get emailed about constantly. Parents and caregivers contacting me because they're having issues with their child's behaviour. Now, when I was a kid, my parents didn't have much skills when it came to correcting behaviour or sorting out issues within the family. It was always reacting instead of responding, lashing out, hitting, out of frustration and annoyance, trying to control the situation, going for power over, and making things their way, even if they were in the wrong. The result of that was a lack of respect, and it didn't work. And those strategies are hand-me-downs. They keep being handed down the generations. Often when I put out different ways of looking at parenting, there's always a reaction from people saying, well, hitting never hurt me. I got hit when I was a kid. What are you talking about? Spare the rod, spoil the child. Spare the rod, spoil the child. It's an interesting one because I'm not talking about not disciplining children. And what is the rod? I mean, we're not going around picking up rods and whacking our kids with it. So what, we're just going to say it's the hand? Well, the hand technically is not a rod. So if you're being technical about it, that doesn't fit. For me, it's about holding children accountable, holding them accountable for their behaviour. That's how I see it. And I'm all for that. And it's how we do it, the way we go about it. As someone who ran Warrior Kids and worked with children, well, with Warrior Kids alone, I ran that in schools and in the community for 28 years, working with children, teenagers, and their families. Prior to that, I was already involved in youth work. I am a parent of 2 children, and, well, I can't call them children anymore. They're adults. And in my parenting experience, there was 9 years, those early years, where I was a single parent, a full-time single parent. So I had them 24 hours, 7 days a week. Due to having come through a traumatic, abusive and violent childhood, I wanted to do things differently. I was really looking at ways of how I could correct my children's behaviour without having to do a whole power over, without me lashing out and losing control, so that I could have build a very respectful, open relationship with my children that to this day maintains that integrity, that dignity, and that respect. My kids will, I keep calling them my kids, my adult children will sit down with me and they know how I behaved as a parent. They know the times when I overreacted and when I didn't overreact. When I did overreact, I got a bit big. I didn't hit them, but I got a bit big, a bit mouthy. However, I have nothing to feel guilty about. I mean, I've apologised for those times where I overreacted and may have been in the wrong. However, one thing I have with them is that I did a good job, and the best job that I could at that time, and they know that. They knew that. I mean, there's always better ways of doing things, but they know I did a good job. So how to correct behaviour when young ones play up differently from resorting to smacking. Now, with my children's behaviour, there were times where a sharp response was needed, very direct. For example, getting too close to the road. That's a, hey, or mucking around the kitchen when there's a hot pot on the stove. Dangerous stuff, you know. Or just having a go at each other and starting to build up. And it's not something we need to go into in any depth at the time, but seeing it, that, hey, this is escalating, I'm not liking this, someone's going to get hurt, they're really going to have it out. So at a point like that, it's like, oi, cut it out. Right? When it came to more serious issues, I took the time. And that's what you have to do. You have to take the time. Addressing behaviour takes time. And a lot of the time, we are responding out of frustration because of the lack of time. We've got other things to do. There's other things happening in life. We have to get the kids to school. We have to get to work. Bills have to be paid. All these things are lining up. And yet, right in the middle of that, our children can choose to behave in a way that doesn't help the situation and behave in a way that needs to be addressed. Hence that fly off the handle, cut it out, lash out, which has a lasting effect on both the child and the parent. We go away as a parent, we carry a guilt about, why did I react like that? We tell ourselves, no, I was right. I was right to behave that way. You know, they weren't doing the right thing. I was right. Yet there's that niggle in us. I could have done better. I could have done it differently. And for the child, of course, it can ruin their whole day. They can then go to school and either be withdrawn or go to school and punish the class and the teachers. Give them a hard time. I've often mentioned in my videos about slowing it down. Taking the breath. Settling ourselves. There were times where I would stop the car and park up on the side of the road. There were times where everything in the house just stopped. That's it. I would just stop everything. If there were devices on, TV, whatever, off it goes. Everything stops. And we're going to sort this out right here and now. And this tone that I'm using, this is the tone that I used. It's a very strong tone. You just lower it a bit. And it means that I'm being in me. I'm being centered. I am not up. If you're up, that's where those wild emotions let loose. That's where you really start getting out of control. So I need to check myself, make sure I'm in a good place. And this is about holding my children accountable. It's not about letting behaviour slide. I don't do that. My children will tell you that. If something happened, no, we're going to address this. Often too, I would prep the child. I did it a lot in warrior kids as well. If it was brought to my attention that something had happened, sometimes a parent would come to me and, hey Tim, the principal from my child's school has phoned me, my child's in big trouble at school, they got into a fight, or they did this, or they did that. Can you have a word with them and find out what's going on? There's a lot to be said for an external voice, an external influence in the family. Sometimes our children will bounce their issues off a family friend or somebody else before coming to us. And that's all part of it, eh? That's all part of the family, raising the child. In those situations, I would prep the child. I'd get them ready to respond. First of all, I'd call them over. I'd say, hey, look, I'm aware of this. I'm aware that this took place, this situation. I don't know the full story. I'm not angry with you. I want to talk about it with you though. So I'm going to give you some time to think. Because I'm going to ask you what happened. What was your part of it? What did you do? And I want you to tell me. So I'm going to give you some time to think about it. To gather your thoughts and think about your words. Because a lot of the time when children are put on the spot, they're nervous and their mind just gets jumbled. They can't make head or tail. They're busy trying to read your response, thinking to themselves, what's the best answer? So in this case, and I did this a lot for my own children, I'm giving them time to think about it, to gather their words, to put it together, to basically present the situation to me, to even come up with their own defence, or to own their behaviour. We'd go off and we'd do other things. But later on, I would give them maybe another warning. I say, okay, we're going to do this really soon, all right? We're going to sit down, we're going to have this talk. And then we would sit down and say, okay, here we go. Tell me, what's going on? And I would expect an answer. And nothing would move, nothing would shift until I got the answer. And we sat there, that's it. See, time needs time. I would hear them out, and we would look at how they responded in that time, in that situation, what they did, what worked for them, what didn't work for them, what could they do differently next time with a different outcome. Are they liable for anything? Are they responsible for any damage, or, what do they need to do to make amends, to sort that situation out, to take full responsibility for what happened, if they are fully responsible. Let's be clear there. It's just really getting to those details. Now, I did this with my own children, and as I said, I didn't worry kids. It had a huge effect. Parents would use it at home because it is effective, it works. The thing is, you just got to have time, and you don't always have the time. However, prepping the child means that you can plan for the discussion at a later date. So it allows the child to breathe as well. I'm not going to be big, I'm not going to be angry at you, I'm not going to be emotional. So I'm really clear about that. So I take off any fear, any worry, any concern. All right? My concern is that you're in a safe place and that you're behaving in a way that looks after you and not in a way that's going to damage you. Damage your reputation, get you into trouble, so on. That allows the child to relax. Then we can make a time later on when there is more space, where there isn't that rush. And then we'd sit down and we'd talk, as I said. Other times when behaviour came up, especially if it was in front of me, I'd just go quiet. Just go quiet. And just look at them. So if the child was in front of me and they weren't doing the right thing, I would go quiet and I would look at them. It's how I controlled a lot of behaviour and warrior kids. You'll see on some of the old footage, some child will come and they're doing something and I'll just go quiet and look at them. Again, not being angry. Making sure, in that moment when I'm looking at them, I'm holding them to account. This is how I'm looking at them. I want to take out the emotion from my face. I'm not like this or anything. It's just clear. It's like, what's going on? That's what it is. That's the response that I'm looking for. That silence is golden. I recommend it because it slows me down. Slows me down as the adult. Slows me down as the parent. Slows them down as the child. Brings us to a place where we're connecting with our eyes. It's just quiet. It's unsaid. Sometimes that's all that was needed. It's just that. So for example, if you think children are fighting in the back of the car, pull the car over. Turn the engine off. Just sit. Don't say anything. If they keep going, turn around and look at them. Wait. If they choose to fight you on it, then it's time to go into a talk. But a lot of times, it didn't need to go that far. I'd even get to a point where do I need to stop? Do we need to sort this? And that was enough. It was done. Because I will take the time. I don't care how long it takes. I will take the time. Because this child, whether it's a warrior kid, whether it's my own children, they are important. You might think that in terms of seeking attention, some kids will crave that and do things just to get it. It's not how it works. Because I make sure I give my children plenty of attention. Hey, we need to be doing the right thing. We need to be in the right space, making sure they're fed, well looked after, that all that other side is in check. Because if it's not, then they've got every right to oppose us and every right to play up. We talk about scapegoats in family, children that are singled out, children that display the cracks in the family, show up the issues, bring them to the forefront. And the parents can often be really angry at that child. But for me, that child's actually a blessing because you're showing, hey, things are not okay here. Things could be different. Mum and dad are fighting at home, or all these issues are going on at home that are unsaid, underlying. See, kids pick up on all that. Kids pick up on all that stuff. So as a parent, we need to make sure that we're in the right place and doing the right thing ourselves. Otherwise, our children are completely justified to have a go at us and to play up. We know this. We know this. I've had many children have been brought to me because they're a problem and their behaviour needs to be fixed and sorted, and it soon comes out that dad is beating up mum. So hence the child's playing up. Or mum is the one doing the beating and the hurting of people in the family. The child has every right to play up. And you will find that once things are addressed in the family and sorted out, that child's behaviour will change. When it comes to attention-seeking behaviour, that's the stuff. Let's rule out all these other issues first, that could possibly be happening in the family. My children dreaded meetings. I would call meetings. So if there was an issue, okay, we're going to have a meeting about this. We're going to sit down, we're going to talk. It got to a point my kids couldn't stand it. See, I would take the time. I'd put it into them. I was rushed all the time. It just meant sometimes there were late dinners or things didn't happen exactly when I wanted them to. I knew that it was important, and that's the thing. Our parenting is important. Even though these days society sort of doesn't put a lot of value on parenting, it doesn't seem to. It wants the parents out of the house working and wants to shift all the kids off to childcare. That in itself has devalued parenting. Parenting is very important. It's the most important job, really, because we want our relationships with our family to be really good. So there's some strategies that you can use for correcting your child's behaviour. I could do so many videos on this. I could just keep going. There are so many other things that can be done. So please, by all means, if you have found this helpful, keep watching. I will keep bringing out videos of different ways that we can correct our children's behaviour that have a positive and constructive, lasting influence in our relationship and the life of the family, the health and well-being of the family as a unit. And where you can hold your head up high and not have those niggles of guilt or thinking to yourself, I could have done better. I mean, we could always do better, but to what degree? We don't want this huge stuff hanging over our family, shadow stuff that maybe we overreacted and hurt them. We want to get away from that. It's going to hurt us and our relationship with our kids, and we don't want that. So different ways of correcting, different ways of using the rod, so to speak. Holding our children responsible and accountable. If you're enjoying my videos, please like, share and subscribe. Talk soon.